All right, good morning. Welcome to another Monday morning high five. Um, Today we are looking at Joshua chapter 14. Give you a quick summary of the whole chapter. Not going to read it, but give you a quick summary. The main focus of Joshua 14 is Caleb. If you're familiar with the story um, of of the Israelites going into Canaan, before they went into the promised land, Caleb was one of the 12 spies that were sent in to kind of search out the land, see what was there. He brought back the report along with Joshua. We can do it. God said we could do it. We can take this land. Let's go right now. The other 10 said, no, we can't do it. So now they're in the wilderness. And the only two people that God allowed to survive the wilderness experience over, I think the age was like 20 something, was Joshua and Caleb. They're the only two that left Egypt as adults and made it into the promised land. And so chapter 14 is really kind of a significant chapter and just like all that they've been through. Now Joshua is going to come to, I mean, Caleb's going to come to Joshua with a request, and he's going to ask him to give him permission to basically take control of this territory that Moses promised him when Moses was still alive. And so the rest of the chapter is just it's about the Joshua is the one in charge of distributing the inheritance. So Caleb comes to him saying, Moses made me this promise because God gave me this promise, and so I want to make good on it now. I'm old, but I'm not too old to do what God had promised me. Can I go? And so that's basically the quick, dirty version of it. Rich, start us off. What did you see?
So, one of the things that I saw in just as Caleb is approaching Joshua and he's kind of talking about the promise and entering the land, and he brings up the fact that, how they went over to see the land, like them two together. And the word that kept sticking out to me was in verse 8. He says, I wholeheartedly followed the Lord my God. And then in verse 9, he talks about it again. He says, because you wholeheartedly followed the Lord my God. And he's just, using that word wholeheartedly, like following God. And it just made me think, there were other people who were supposedly following God also. But when they saw what they saw in the land, when they went to spy it out, their heart changed. It wasn't just I believe God based off of what I see, based off of it was based off of what they saw that changed what God has said, according to them. But Caleb is showing us that he believed God in spite of what he saw, in spite of seeing the people in the land, in spite of trying to figure all this information out. Like he just believed God wholeheartedly. And he says the same about Joshua. Like you are also with me. Like we both believe God in spite of what we saw, in spite of what we heard. And for us today, I just feel like that's a reminder for us that we need to believe God wholeheartedly, in spite of what we're hearing, in spite of what we're seeing, in spite of what we're feeling. Like if God said it, then it's gonna happen. If God told us to do it, then we need to do it. There is no, well, yeah, he said it, but like the situation has changed now. It's a little different. So I'm gonna have to change what God said. Like that's not the way that it works. If God said it, like we need to wholeheartedly believe God and do it. And we see the results from
Right.
it. We see it if we do wholeheartedly believe God, we can see the promise is being fulfilled now. And so that was one of
Yeah.
the things that just stood out to me.
Yeah. Great points, Rich. Great points. One of the things that really stuck out to me was just the fact that his faith never wavered. And just like Rich said, just like you said, that that's a lesson that we could, hold to today. There's so many things that, that God said that we will be able to have through his word. He said that certain things we'll be able to have if we stay faithful. But we have to learn from Caleb to be able to stay faithful no matter what. In my devotional this week, it talked about Sarah, and how when the angel told Sarah or told Abraham that they would have a child, Sarah laughed. She was in the background laughing. Those are examples of God saying something, but you're not trusting in God, knowing that this being, this person, this man that created everything, that created the universe, said that he was going to do something specifically for you, and you laughed thinking that it's not going to happen because it can't happen. In your mind, it can't happen. But you have to trust God no matter what the situation seemed like. At that time, Sarah was like I feel like in her 80s or somewhere up there, But you take Caleb, who was also in his 80s, and he was promised 40 something years ago that he was going to get this reward. He was going to get the promised land. He was going to get this area. And still 40 something years later, he still believed it just as much as he believed it when he was told that 40 something years ago. And he even mentions, his health. He felt like he was as strong as he was all the way back then. So send me, I'll go, because I know, and there's giants that are still there, that are still in the land. But I know what God told me, and I know what I was promised. So I'm going to take advantage of it. So I think the lesson that we can learn from that is to continue to have faith in what God promised you, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter how long it takes. If you're battling infertility, if you're battling, with some health issues, just trust God no matter what. No matter if you have those days where you feel like it's not going to work out, just trust God, because if God said it, then that settles it. If he promised it to you, it's going to be promised. And sometimes that reward isn't down here, and sometimes that reward is up there. So even if you get that reward up there, he still kept his promise. You know. But that's what I got from it.
Good point. Good point, Darnell. And Darnell and we've kind of had a very similar point. I looked at these verses. You look at Caleb, and Caleb, he he looked at the faithfulness of God, how God kept him, how God, you know, continued to protect him and make a way for him to get to that point where he's in the land now. And that faithfulness, he looked at that and he allowed that to cause him to be fearless, because he's
Hmm.
asking to go fight giants. That's what he's asking, Joshua. Give me permission to go fight some giants. Not and I'm looking at it, and it doesn't say like, "Hey, send the whole army that's been fighting this whole time." Like, no, I'm gonna go. Like, I have some people, like my tribe will go and we'll fight these giants. Like, we're not scared of them. Why would I be scared now? God's been so
Right.
faithful this whole time. God could have let me die in the wilderness if he was gonna, like, why am I gonna be all afraid now? We'll go. I
Right.
and it's like what Richard was saying, what Darnell was saying, like, will the question becomes, will we get to a point where we really, just really, like, really believe God? Like, for real
Yeah.
believe God. Like, not like Richard. I love how Richard put it. Not, well, I believed until I saw the giant. I mean, I knew they were big. I didn't know they were that big though. Like, I didn't know they were like giants.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, no, will we get to a point where, like, it doesn't matter what I'm looking at, doesn't matter what I'm hearing. All I hear is what God said. That's what I hear. God said I could do it. That's all I hear. I don't
Yeah.
care what no
Right.
one else is saying. I don't. All I heard is God said I could have it. He said it's mine. That's what I heard. And so no matter who else is there right now, I believe it's mine because God said it was mine.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's again, like it seems kind of simple on the surface, but I mean there's a lot of encouragement that we could take. Um And like Darnell was saying, like he's an old guy. He's up there in age, but he's like that. Even that has nothing to do with God's promise. God didn't
Right.
say you can get it up until 60. You can get it up
Right.
until no. He said it's yours. And
Yeah.
so he's like, I'm willing to go now. I feel like I can do it now. God's been with us this whole time up until now. I don't believe
Right.
he's just gonna like leave when it's time to collect everything. Like, no,
Right.
he's still gonna be with me. So all I
Right.
need is permission. So yeah. Anything else, guys?
No.
Is that for me?
Mhm. Okay. All right. Well, as always, that's been our Monday morning high five. We hope that we're doing these scriptures justice. Um, to in your opinion, not that we're gonna switch it up if we don't. I mean, but we do hope. We do hope. And then, as always, we would love to hear from you, hear your thoughts, hear your comments. We always appreciate that. We always try and respond. So, yeah, if God says the same, we'll be back next Monday with Joshua chapter 15.
Yep.
All right.